Hey everyone, we are live here with Alec Jones.
Hello.
It's great to have you here, Alec. For those of you watching, I just want to tell you a little bit about this amazing person. Alec is a 14-year-old developer from Victoria, Canada. He's currently in the 9th grade, and he has built a chatbot called ChristopherBot that is currently helping more than 3,000 people track their homework so they can make sure that they remember to do their homework and what they need to do. He's been interviewed by the BBC, and now he's being interviewed right here on freeCodeCamp's YouTube channel. Welcome. Tell us a little bit about ChristopherBot.
So ChristopherBot is he's a homework. I always say a homework tracking bot. So what that means is you can text ChristopherBot. You can set up all your classes and all the what your schedule is like, and then you'll get texts at the end of each of your classes. It'll ask you if you have homework. You can say yes or no, tell them what homework you have, and then at the end of the day, he'll send you a reminder with everything you need to get done, and you can always ask for what homework you need again or what's due today and stuff.
So it's very interesting that you chose to build a chatbot because there's so much hype surrounding chatbots right now. It's a very new, it's not so much a new concept, but it's recently become extremely popular to build chatbots. Why did you build a chatbot as opposed to like a traditional mobile app or a web app that ran on a mobile phone?
I couldn't build a mobile app. I don't know how, and I thought about that, and I was like, oh, I'd have to spend all this time learning, Objective-C or Swift, and so I was like, well, what's the closest thing to a mobile app? And I thought of a chatbot because it would be doing the same thing that the app would, and so I decided to go with the chatbot.
Awesome. And what kinds of technology did you use to build this?
Yeah, so it's mainly built on Ruby on Rails, which I don't think very many chatbots are built on. It's not a very common thing you'd build a chatbot with, but it's the language I knew pretty well, so I decided to go with that. And then there's if you notice the homepage, I get lots of questions about that, and I used a Bootstrap template. I'm not a CSS wizard, and it's just hosted on Heroku, and yeah.
Wow. So that basically you used all these very common tools, and you were able to kind of quickly get up and running. You didn't have to build your own CSS. You just used Bootstrap. You didn't have to deal with AWS or try to create your own secure server. You just used Heroku. And of course, Ruby on Rails, one of the greatest tools out there for rapidly prototyping an app.
Yeah, for sure. I'm thankful I didn't use AWS because they had a big crash the other day.
Oh yeah. Well, the S3 outage affected us all, including at freeCodeCamp. All of our images stopped working, which was awkward, but it came back up pretty quickly. AWS only crashes once every year or so, fortunately. So, but tell us a little bit about ChristopherBot. You chose the name ChristopherBot. And I know that in your article, which I've linked to below, which everybody should go read, because it's an amazing article, very popular on Medium. In your article, you mentioned that you named your bot Christopher because that's what Alan Turing called one of his early machines. And he named it after his friend who died in childhood. Why did you choose this name?
Yeah, I think, when you say it like that, I think a lot of people are like, wow, that's a really deep name. And really, Postal is one of my favorite movies. And I had just watched it, and I was talking with my dad, and he was like, originally, there was going to be a homework bot with 2 Ks at the end. and he's like, that's not so great. So we had to come up with a name, and I just watched the movie, and I was like, well, why not do Christopher after what he did in the movie?
Yeah, and if you haven't seen it, that's just such an amazing movie. The Imitation Game. It's a kind of a biopic of Alan Turing's life, specifically the really important part of his life when he was helping crack the Enigma
Yeah.
machines that the Germans were using to communicate. One of the early forms of encryption. So, at what point did you realize that you had this bot that people were using a whole lot, and that this was a general problem? It wasn't just a problem that you had.
Yeah. So, I noticed last year, and I noticed a bunch of my friends doing it. I would forget all the homework I had. I just gone. I didn't have a clue what I had to do, and I remember, it's 9 o'clock, and it's like, oh crap! I left all of that, and now I realized I gotta go to sleep early because I gotta get up early, and I gotta go to school early to get all my work done. And I noticed some of my other friends doing it, just sitting there early in the morning doing their homework, and I was like, well, I might as well just build something that could help me out.
Yeah. So you just looked around. Just to recapitulate what you said, you looked around early in the morning, and it kind of clicked. Like, I'm not the only person who's coming into school early because I forgot to do my homework the night before, or I forgot some critical piece of that homework at school. And so tell us a little bit about how your chatbot works. Does it remind you at the end of the day what you need to take home? And
Yeah, so you definitely, obviously it doesn't work unless you give it the information. So it does send you a text, which, I just say it like it's sending a text, but it's a big difference compared to writing it down in like a notebook, because you still have to remember that you need to write it down in your notebook. But when you get a text especially with students, we always have our phones out. You just get that quick text, and you can easily respond yes or no. And then, at the end of the day, a couple minutes after your last class, you'll get a little reminder with everything that you need to do.
so let's say that I just heard my teacher say an assignment, and I just pull out my phone and chat to Christopher Bot. I'm like, oh, page 82 of biology textbook, do the vocab assignment, something like that. And I just literally say that to Christopher Bot. What happens when I send that to Christopher Bot?
Right. So there's two ways you can let Christopher Bot know you have homework. And that's one is to wait for him to text you, or you can text him saying, he's not the smartest right now, so you do have to, make sure you spell stuff right. But if you say, I have homework for, X class, then he'll ask you those questions. But yeah, so I just built it. He gets all this information back. On the website, there's a table with everything that you'll have from the previous week. And he'll just he keeps that information for a week until the next classes comes back around, and he's got to reset your data.
Awesome. So currently, how many people are using Christopher Bot?
We just broke the 3,000 milestone.
Wow! Congratulations.
Thank you.
Are most of them in Victoria, or have you noticed people using it all around?
It's a funny story. So obviously the BBC article, which you mentioned, that obviously brought some users in from Great Britain. So that was great. But I mentioned in my article a viral post in Thailand. So a Thai blog, I presume they're pretty popular in Thailand. They posted a little thing about Christopher Bot and information stuff when we went on Product Hunt. So that, last I checked, got 11,000 likes, 3.8 thousand shares, and 300 comments. And like I said, couldn't understand any of them. And so that brought a big chunk of users from Thailand. And I mentioned Kevin Jonas, which he actually I noticed more people from the States who joined. But yeah, I think top 3 countries are Great Britain, Thailand, and the United States.
And you mentioned Kevin Jonas. That's something I didn't say earlier, but this guy, he's one of the Jonas Brothers.
Yeah.
And for people who don't know who the Jonas Brothers are, how would you describe them?
3 musically talented guys. I mean, one of them, I mean, there's Nick, who is big in pop. There's Joe, who's also got his band. And then Kevin, I guess he's really into entrepreneurship. And so he tweeted about my bot, which I was like, what? And and now I can say Kevin Jonas follows me on Twitter, which does have some street credit to it.
Absolutely. How many followers does he have?
5.1 million.
Holy cow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's, the scale, I mean, the reach, how many people saw that tweet? It's really amazing. And just to put this back in perspective, you're a 14-year-old kid, you're working through high school, you still have to do all the stuff that a normal high schooler does, except you kind of have this fame online as a result of this chatbot that you built and the traction that it's gotten.
Yeah.
So how did you learn how to program? I think that's probably the main question everybody's asking. You're 14, you've been busy going to high school. How did you learn Ruby on Rails? How did you learn Bootstrap? How did you pick up all these skills so that you could strap them together into this chatbot product?
Yeah, it was a lot of, I think it was a lot of puzzling together. So it first started, oh man, I must have been like 6 or 7 or 8. That's not when I started programming, but that's when my dad decided to teach my brother. He wanted to get him kind of interested in it, my older brother. And they built this little app that kept track of your mood. I was like, whoa, this is so cool. I was too young at the time to get everything that was happening. So I went back in, I think grade 6. I revisited programming, and I was like, I'm old enough now. I can get these concepts. So I started just, learning, and I started with obviously HTML basic stuff, and then I moved on to PHP, and that was a good challenge because that was the first real programming language I learned, and I spent a while with that. And then I saw Ruby on Rails, so I started piecing together a little bit of Code Academy, reading articles, Treehouse, just all these little pieces which helped me learn Ruby on Rails. And I got to the point where I could, do it well, and I could just, if I wanted to get something, I could just go into the documentation, get it all. And then that led me to the idea with Christopher Bot.
That's really quite remarkable. So a lot of this was just like your dad kind of planted the initial seeds in encouraging you and your brother to program, and then you just took it from there. Did you take any formal programming classes? Do you have programming classes, high school?
No, Victoria's the opposite of a tech hub. You got Vancouver nearby, and that's becoming one. But I've been doing this pretty much just all on like learning programming, just all online and stuff.
Wow. So that's some amazing initiative, and I think all of us can be inspired by your can-do spirit. And so tell us a little bit about the prototyping stage. So Christopher Bot didn't emerge fully formed and with all the features. How did you build it out? What did you start with?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good question. So it really, I didn't even know. If you don't know, that's fine. I didn't know what a webhook was. I couldn't even comprehend what that was until I spent quite a few weeks just learning as much as I could about webhooks, because I knew those were going to be a big part of ChristopherBot, because you have to get that data back to the ChristopherBot servers. And so that was the first step, and it was frustrating. It seemed, when I read everything, it seemed so simple, yet nothing was working until I just kept on going, just kept going at it day after day until I finally got it to work, and which was, so happy just after that tiny little win I'd been working on. And so that was good. And then I realized I can start building an actual chatbot. So I played around for a little bit, learning how it worked, the Facebook, APIs. So when I did start fully going at it, I knew what I was going to handle. So the first step was you obviously have to set up classes. So ChristopherBot doesn't work unless you have classes set up. So I built a form, and I realized I'm gonna get 0 users if people keep having to type this information in again and again.
Right.
So thankfully it's not new, I don't think, definitely not new. But it's just a form, so you type in your classes for Monday, and most of high school, the class times don't change. Your classes usually don't change too much. So when you go to create your classes on Tuesday, all the forms just fill with what you put in for the previous day. So that was how I got started there. So the website was, pretty shaky, but all the classes were set up. And then I learned about cron, so running tasks automatically.
Right.
And
Did you use Heroku's scheduler tool for that?
Yes, I did. And that was, I was a little annoyed at first because I thought, maybe running a cron, I wanted to run it like every minute, but I was like, that people were like, nope, that's not gonna happen with Heroku. So then I learned, every 10 minutes I can run a task, which is fine. And so I got there, and then I started sending little texts, and it was working. Still really buggy at the time, that I think most are. So I spent a while crushing bugs, getting it all, working, and then it was just features from there on. So I spent, if you use ChristopherBot, you notice the quick replies, the yes or no after each of your classes. And that was a big one, because that way it's super easy for people to tap yes or no instead of typing. The little message bubbles that send you a text like someone's texting you in real life. That was an idea by my dad, because he realized, ChristopherBot would send you a text after 1 millisecond, and most people wouldn't even realize that a new text had come in.
Right. They're not used to computers being so much faster than humans that you're corresponding with.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you introduce like a lag intentionally?
Yeah, which is, some people would be like, that's weird, but if you don't, people just can't. A lot of people just can't keep up that fast when it's going that quickly, and which, when you say it like that, it's funny. And then it was just, ChristopherBot building out his, witty little replies that he has, and, the goal's never been to treat him like try to get people to think he's human-like. The goal's always been just to think he's a friendly robot, and that's the image. And it's just been, slowly, day by day, just getting out new features and stuff.
Wow. So it sounds like you've learned a ton about user experience design, emotional design, agile project management, and product development. It's just astounding how much it sounds like you've learned from this process.
Yeah, I don't think, I always read in all those coding, tutorials and stuff. The best way to learn is to build something that you're passionate about, and it wasn't until ChristopherBot that I was building something I was, really passionate about. Because I'd spend my time, like a lot of the people watching this, building pointless things to learn programming. And I think I learned infinitely more when I was building something that really had my attention, and I was happy to work on it, and I knew people were going to be using this in the future.
So are you continuing to maintain and expand ChristopherBot?
Yeah, so the goal, ChristopherBot's not the smartest bot out there, that's for sure. So I'm just, I want him to be smarter. Obviously, the more users, the better. And, I'm kind of in a phase right now where it's like, I could spend a bit of time making ChristopherBot smarter, getting more people to use him. I think I really just want to kind of focus on making ChristopherBot as smart as possible, and then, going out and trying to get even more users.
Yeah, well, I'm hopeful that this interview will raise more awareness of Christopher Bot. Below, I've linked to the article that Alec wrote about Christopher Bot. I've also linked to Alec on Twitter, and he's followed by at least one famous person now. So I strongly recommend everybody watching this go and follow him. It sounds like he's got some amazing new developments in the pipes. So you've still got 3 more years before you graduate from high school. What are your long-term plans? Do you have any at this point?
That's the question people always ask me. It's, you've done this. What are you going to do in the future? And I've had some people like reach out to me, and they're like, "Oh, we can tell you're going to do something really cool in the future. Give us a call when you have that next idea, that next really big idea." And that's I don't know. That's the thing, right? Is I'm still 14. I still have to get through 3 more years of high school, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that didn't enjoy high school, and high school is not always the greatest thing. But I just that still has to, especially what my mom says, that's got to be your first priority, and it definitely is. And so I don't have any really long-term goals, and that's a misconception I think people get, is that just because I built this, I got my whole life figured out. But I really don't.
Well, it sounds like in the meantime you have lots of people who are excited about Christopher Bot, and it's a safe investment of your time and energy to continue to maintain and expand Christopher Bot. And I will say, this is as somebody who runs a big open source project, I will say that staying focused and heads down on one thing for a very long time, just like Linus Torvalds has been very focused on Linux for the last 25 years, I think that that's the way to go. I would say don't be looking for some other big idea. Just continue to incrementally improve Christopher Bot, because you've already got a hit on your hands.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I think a lot of people have. I think I have gotten that advice, and I like that advice, because I think it's I came up with this after learning to program for 3 years, and before that all my other ideas were so bad, and so I don't know when the next one would even come.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us, Alec. I know you got to get to school in a few minutes, so have a beautiful day at 9th grade high school. And remember, all of us who are excited about your chatbot, and if you get any more insights, of course, about chatbots or new things you can do with them, we'd love a follow-up article. I think a lot of people would be interested in reading that. Yeah,
I definitely am interested in writing. I think I always like to hear the stories about, oh, this happened, a year, 6 months ago. What's that person up to now? And I think I definitely will write an article.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to reading it. And thank you again for joining us. Have a beautiful day at school.
Yes, thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for tuning in live. Be sure to, again, follow Alec on Twitter, read his article. If you're not following us on Medium, follow us on Medium. We publish really cool stories from all kinds of different developers every day. And if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, click the subscribe button too. Have a wonderful day, everyone.